Okay. Next item.
Agenda number 5 is an extension for time and money to the Parsons Brinkerhoff firm.
If I could, Mr. Flens, let me just interject something right here. Most members of the public know that our very capable CEO, Mr. Morales, used to work for this firm as part of the PMT team. So I want to make sure that it's understood in public and for the public record, I'd like the minutes to reflect that the staff work on this did not include Mr. Morales in any way, even though technically I'm informed by the General Counsel that he probably could have participated, but he did not. Mr. Trujillo, who has been, in fact, I was going to recognize for his work on reviewing all of these contracts and helping to structure the analysis that we heard about before about which ones to compete when and which ones to hold on to, working with Mr. Flens on that. So Mr. Trujillo took the lead on this contract. Mr. Morales did not take part in any of the staff work leading to the presentation of this to the board. So, so with that, Mr. Flens, could you proceed?
Thank you. So this architectural and engineering contract is quite different than the others in that this is for the program management. And so they, as an extension of staff and working closely with staff, manage the entire program. And laid out in the board memo the types of activities they're involved in, including grants, the business plan itself, engineering and design management, the environmental process, all the procurements, the program and operations plannings, the project controls and administration. So their role extends throughout our entire program. And whereas the regional consultants that we just had before you earlier are just limited to preliminary engineering and environmental work on a particular section. So we took a real hard look at this existing agreement and decided that it's in the best interest of the state to continue with Parsons Brinkerhoff for a 24-month period because of the critical nature of some of the items that must continue with high-speed rail in the next 24 months. And it would be very disruptive, more costly, and would, we think, impact the schedule of the project if Parsons Brinkerhoff was not allowed to have this, or if we decided not to go ahead with this extension. We also are asking that additional money be put in the budget, which would be $24 million additional dollars into. $24 million is monies that hasn't been spent in the original contract that was $199 million. We spent, as of March 2013, $160 million, about 24 left. And we wanted to add another $96 million to the budget for a total of $120 million of dollar amount to this contract. Again, this is not a guaranteed sum that they would receive. It's an amount to spend up to, and we manage through the annual work plan all the money that's being spent and tie these to the deliverables and the schedules that are performed by this project management team. If you can see, we have put together the estimated expenditure by task in a tabular form for the 2 fiscal years that we're asking the contract to extend into, which is 13-14 and 14-15. The first year is about $65 million budget, and the second year would be about $55 million budget. The critical work that needs to continue is also on page 3, and that would be the preparation of the 2014 business plan and Senate Bill 1029 reports, preparation of and support for procurements for construction packages that remain, the PCM contract oversight management. The PCM is Long-Harris, but they will also help manage the Long-Harris contract that oversees the construction, the development of workflows for tracking and monitoring the design, build, and PCM contracts, continue grant administration and reporting, including tracking the AIR grant deliverables, risk management program support, and quality management support. So those are the tasks that we think are critical to continue without interruption in the next 24 months as we accomplish some of the milestones that these are tied to.
Questions? I have a comment, but first, other board members. Mr. Umberg.
Mr. Folenza, this is actually directed towards staff. I don't know if we have anybody here from PB, but here's the issue and the concern and my hope potential resolution is that I think as a board, and you're aware, that there was a kerfuffle with respect to PB last year concerning critical comments that Mr. Mort Downey made in Business Week, is identified as a senior executive of Parsons Brinkerhoff. And at the time, Mr. Downey can say whatever he likes to say, as I think we're aware that now and again there are criticisms of the authority and of the project. But when he made those critical comments, perhaps he should have said that PB was responsible for project management and been paid $110 million at that point. That wasn't included. And again, that's not the quarrel, because Mr. Downey and Parsons can say whatever they wish, and indeed we want them to be both forthright and brutally frank with us. We prefer to have that told to us outside of national publication, at least initially. But that's not the issue. The issue is that PB did immediately acknowledge that that was an unauthorized comment, which they did not agree. And in fact, I should commend Mr. Morales because he immediately took action. But those above him made the decision not to correct the comment, I believe for fear of embarrassing a senior executive, and let that comment, which was inaccurate according to PB, get republished in other publications. So the question, I suppose, and request is that staff inquire PB to make sure that that decision-making process, when they have to decide between embarrassment and actually telling us what they believe or we need to hear, that they choose the path of frankness with us, and if they have to embarrass a senior official to do that, that the higher good is that they need to perform in a way that is with integrity. So if the staff, assuming this passes, if the staff could make sure that decision-making process is one that's different than the decision-making process that was employed before, that would be, from my perspective, that would be great.
Okay, we'll assure that happens.
Mr. Hudman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think, it is important for the momentum and efficiency to move forward with the same team. But I think it's important for us to note the changing context in which we find ourselves. In 2006, when the services started under the existing contract, the nature of the services and the nature of the authority as an organization were substantially different than they are now, both in terms of what was possible to do for the contracting party, what the authority could do in terms of moving anything forward due to not having the money, not having the staff, not having the capability to build a railroad, so to speak. And the difference between then and now is just stunning. And it's important that we and they understand that difference. I know they do, and I know we do, but the fact is we have an organization now that is not dependent upon a contracting party as we once were, as dictated by the circumstances at the time. And as Mr. Morales has said over and over since he's been our CEO, it's really important that government people make decisions that government people should be making and not private contracting parties. And our organization has been staffed up and set up in such a way for that to happen. And I think that's the context within which we would do this extension. And that is that we, as a board, fully expect the staff to ensure that government people are making the government decisions and that the contracting party is being held accountable through staff, reporting to staff and appropriate supervision, so that the work is moving forward in the manner in which we expect, with the kind of accountability that we expect. And the nature of the services are as important as ever, given where we are. And so I don't minimize the need for the services that are appropriate contract services that we expect private businesses to undertake. So I point that out because it's easy to get the context lost.
Mr. Walker.
If I might support your statement, Mr. Arnett, and the fact that the request today for the extension was clearly looked at by staff in terms of not only the critical elements and milestones that we have to meet in the near term to make sure there's no disruption, but we also coordinate that with our new staffing levels and the transition that the authority is going through. And there's a clear transition, not only that has taken place in the last 6 months, but will continue to take place in the next 12, that is leading exactly to where you just enunciated. And so I just want to support and reemphasize that your comments are actually very true, and that's where we're heading. So, thank you.
Vice Chair Shank.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the risk of being repetitive here, I think it is important for PB to know, as my colleague so eloquently pointed out, that the times have changed. I was here in 2006 when we did the contract and through the ensuing years, and very often I had the feeling that PB, not Mr. Morales, he was a shining exception to this, but some of his superiors particularly felt that they were the authority. And we were routinely ignored and dismissed. The times have changed. We have extraordinarily competent staff who speaks for the authority as delegated to them the opportunity to do so. We speak for the people of the state, and they are the consultants. And while I understand and acknowledge and accept the need for continuity and not to unnecessarily upset what's going on, I would not hesitate to vote to go out to rebid should the relationship not continue as we all here hope that it will now on this new basis. So it's really a message for PB that it is a new day here.
Thank you.
What's the termination clause in terms of the notification?
30-day notification for termination, yes.
Vice Chair Richards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of quick questions. I'm just interested in how did you, and maybe I missed it, and if I did, I apologize, how was it determined that we would extend this roughly for 2 years through June 30th, 2015 as opposed to some later date? Okay. And secondly, it may have to do with, I'm going to suspect, with the tasks of the amendment that you all will be, that staff will be negotiating. And I'm wondering how those have changed, because as in the original contract, it anticipated 4 phases, which has changed dramatically since 2006. And so what is it exactly we're expecting from PP over these next 2 years, and why is it just 2 years?
First, as Mr. Morales indicated at the opening of these elements, it is the default position that we procure contracts from the end. So therefore, that was the initial starting position. We then evaluated what the impact would have been to the operation, to the program, and to the state. And we looked at the critical milestones that are due up in the near term, and I would talk to near term in 12 to 18 months. And they're articulated in the board book in terms of some of the critical milestones that the program is in the midst of at this time. So we took those milestones, combined with the transition of the authority in terms of the staffing level that we're working on, and then added a few months for the re-procurement of the new contract and came up with this period. So we limited only based on the need for the program and not to be impacted negatively. And that's why we did not go on beyond that 24-month period.
So at that point, it may be more reasonable to consider going out on a resolicitation for a different PMT because we're in a place that we could continue to move the project forward without any potential for delay.
That's the plan.
Okay. And again, the additional budget number of $96 million, this is a budget. It's not a committed amount of money that's going to be spent. It's just the budget.
All of the elements and items that we've gone around so far today, and in this particular one, the budget is up to. We manage the contract with the authority and the project program group. My group manages all of these contracts on a case task order basis, hourly basis. We negotiate every work program annually, so we're very closely managed.
And we're happy you're managing these contracts.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll second that. We're very happy that Mr. Vaca is here. And first of all, I want to commend Mr. Hartnett for his comments. I thought that they were very important, and they, more than anything else, reflect the kind of change that has taken place at the High-Speed Rail Authority and in the program. So I was going to say something like that, but I wasn't going to say it as well. So thank you, and I think that's a very important message to go out here. Second, with respect to the comments that my colleague Mr. Umberg made, I also at the time reached out to senior management at PB. It was an extremely unfortunate incident, and it should not have happened. And I understand that Mr. Downey, who made the comments, is a consultant at PB, but I think that there probably was an opportunity for them to clarify both that relationship and to dissociate themselves at the highest level. And so it was a disappointing situation, and Mr. Umberg was correct to point that out. I guess I would say that I also, and I think this is a good time to point out that there have been some changes and transitions in the PB leadership. Brett Falker is here, who is running the PMT operations for PB. I've found him to be a consummate professional and a very, very welcome addition to that team. So there's a lot of competence there that we need to rely upon. I would only add one other thing to the comments that were made, and that is that I think that the basic predicate here, as expressed by Mr. Filens and Mr. Vaca, that when possible, we do want to recontract and rebid. We want to refresh these relationships. We want to keep people in a competitive environment, not to create uncertainty, but to keep people performing at their best. And certainly we want to take advantage, as was pointed out by Vice Chair Richards, of changing economic environments and harvest those possibilities, as well as to update these contracts to reflect new board policies, such as the 30% small business set-aside. So I'm a big fan for recontracting, and I think the only comment that I would add here is to ask the staff, I'm looking at Mr. Trujillo in this case, let's make sure that as we move forward, and Mr. Vaca, as we move forward with the management of this contract, I don't want to be in a position where the board is sitting here 2 years hence feeling as though it is hemmed in because we're in the midst of something and we can't change horses in the middle of the stream. This is no knock on the company at all, but I do think if we're going to do this extension for 2 years, it's a task order extension, everybody should have in mind that at the end of the 2 years, there's very likely to be a recontracting at that point. So I just want to make sure that the staff, if the board does choose to go forward with this, manages this contract in that way so that it doesn't preclude the board from action in the future with respect to what might happen at the end of the 2-year period. So that's my only other comment on this. And with that, pleasure of the board.
I would move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
All right, second. It's moved by Vice Chair Richards and seconded by Mr. Hartnett. Secretary, please call the roll.
Vice Chair Shank? Yes. Vice Chair Richard?
Yes.
Mr. Umberg? Yes. Mr. Hartnett?
Yes.
Chairman Richard?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.